Hello and welcome back to Better Than Adventure. Last time I started building the top part of this. Shockingly, today we're continuing. In the last video, I went on a spiel about a Herobrine thing that I find, like, I was thinking of an idea, and I kind of realized, wait a minute, I'm onto something really cool. Maybe I'm stupid. The idea was, for those who weren't there for some reason, TLDR, basically, the question was about, like, you know how you have all of those dweller mods? Well, what if there was, a way you could maybe ward off the dweller? And by the dweller, I'm just thinking of Herobrine, because that's the only dweller that's really cool enough. And that idea kind of drew me to the, I guess, semi-logical conclusion of players have already tried warding off Herobrine with, like, totems and altars and stuff, and so then the question was, so why not turn this into a game mechanic? Why not have, like, a totem that can ward him off temporarily, or an altar which ensures that he just cannot come close to a specific area, you know, that sort of stuff. So you would put, like, a totem down and light it on fire, which would, like, maybe consume a part of the totem or whatever, and ensure that for an XYZ span of time, he doesn't haunt you. This could give some use for, like, some of the materials which are currently not used in the game. I don't know. But, I started kind of running into a problem, which was, I was thinking of ways to basically ensure he could be learned about in a safe sort of way. You know, you don't want to sort of blindside the player with, oh yeah, buddy, you're gonna have to know this information, and we're not gonna tell you this, you know? We have to teach you that. And through the video, as I was talking about that sort of stuff, it all kind of clicked in my head, but in a way that I didn't feel like reiterating everything in that video to tell you what I thought of. And this is where I do that. So here's the idea. Herobrine has always sort of been a myth in the Minecraft community, right? However, one thing which Herobrine hasn't ever been was in the games. A part of this is because the older Minecrafts are kind of like, okay, so here's the thing, right? Old Minecraft is really lonely, modern Minecraft is more lively. Adding any kind of weird Herobrine-esque mechanic to the older games would require the mechanic to be really cryptic, which would kind of be alienating to new players. However, with modern Minecraft, that's not that big of a deal, because, we have villages. We have more ways to divulge information. Like, in a game, like, specifically, let's take modern Minecraft, for instance, I feel like you could incorporate an entity like Herobrine in a mod by using an RPG-esque villager dialogue system. You know, whenever you're playing, like, an RPG and you, like, right-click to talk to a character, so, like, little voice thing, so, like, you know, little speech box opens, and you get to discuss with them stuff. I feel like that would be the key. My idea specifically to make sure that every single new player learns about the Herobrine stuff without forcing the player to engage with stuff they may not want to engage is with the Traveling Villager, because he sounds like the Traveling Trader or whatever his name is. Because I feel like he would be a very easy way to ensure that a player will, you know, get to grips with the mechanic. Of course, this runs into the question of, would this ever be feasible to add into the base game? And the answer is no, never. Why would they ever add, like, a pseudo-religious entity you have to ward off as if it was an evil spirit into the base children's game of Minecraft? That doesn't sound like a, you know, particularly good idea. However, that doesn't mean we can't add it. Mods exist. But yeah, the idea in my head was really simple. You would have this sort of character who would, you know, the traveling villager, traveling trader. He would run up to you, she would be like, oh yeah, hey buddy, I seeing you around here. You want to trade? And then, before you were done, the guy would be like, oh, well, have you heard of oh, you're new around here, buddy. Do you know about this myth? And regardless of what you said, if the game detected it was, like, the first time the villager was here in the world, he would be like, well, buddy. And, he would basically talk to you about, like, Herobrine and give the basics to you, some of the more basic methods of warding him off, that sort of stuff. And I think a crucial factor would be having him say that, oh yes, these are the very basic methods, but, if you want to know if you want the full scoop, you have to go to a village and talk to a cleric. Their entire jobs depend upon keeping villages safe from unknown threats, something of the sort, you know. And then it would sort of tip you off that not only are villages something that exists, though granted, you know, maybe you would also like lower village density if that's the case, but it would also kind of tip you off, hey, I should talk to these guys. And then if you talk to them, then they would give you the information you would need. And the idea is to make it work in a way where if you just ensured you followed, like, the steps which I outlined, you would basically be playing a normal version of the game where you just did, like, a ritual every now and then, you know, or whatever. Or you would light a totem every now and then, that sort of stuff. The reason for that is because I want there to be this idea that life was normal. If only, like, you know, things work fine if you follow the rules of the universe, right? And, I feel like, you know, it's kind of like how you have to eat, and if you don't, bad things start happening to you, you know? You don't really question, oh, why do I need to eat? Because it's natural. You have to eat because you go hungry, your body needs energy. And I feel like having the similar sort of just rule of the universe that, oh yeah, if you don't do these specific things, Herobrine comes knocking, I feel like that's, that has some potential in it. Of course, some could argue that this would just make the game more tedious, and to that I say, well, yeah, okay, and tedium can be good. Friction can be fun. Having to balance stuff is fun. I mean, the entirety of Minecraft is building things block by block. Is this not tedious? However, there is therapy in tedium, you know? There are ways to do things like this, like how Minecraft does them, in a way that they're relaxing, that they're not actually tedious. Minecraft very clearly makes it so that if you want to do something, the most satisfying way to, like, build a big structure is to build it in basic survival mode, you know? Granted, I have flown up after falling down, because I didn't want to spend, like, 5 minutes running around the entire structure more than once, and I sometimes use it to just look around when I have to quickly figure stuff out. But that's partially just for the video, because it's kind of like how I've done all the mining for a while, just completely off camera, except that one episode where I wanted to show you how I do it. Is because mining's fun, but it's not a fun thing to record. Especially because most of the time, it's like, I'm either talking with people while mining, or I'm like, you know, watching a video or something. So it's not like, you know, not very entertaining. But at least with this, you like watching the process of something that is, that has like a starting point and an ending point, which isn't what watching someone mine for 50 years feels like. With, like, the mining stuff, it's more like, oh, he's gonna mine even more, maybe until I fill up all the mine counts and send them back. But yeah, you know what I mean. But anyways, yeah, what I was thinking about generally in terms of Minecraft's, lore potential is purely that I feel like a lot of it is squandered because of how the game has changed everything about itself. People don't know this, but at one point in time, Minecraft was meant to be kind of scary. Minecraft was, hold on. This is undisabled, right? Yeah, fucking change it back to the actual... Okay, so for whatever reason, BTA tries to fix a bug on some Intel GPUs. And to do that, it hides the light map feature and forces it to disabled. When, as you can clearly see, there is no bug. And nobody knows why the thing is actually there. So I just have to go into, like, the special settings and change it every single time I boot up the game, because it always checks for the Intel GPU and then resets it, and I can't stop it from doing that. I can't just tell it, no, only... Maybe I could do it if I locked the settings so you couldn't write to them, but I feel like that would cause even more issues, so I just have to deal with that and remember to change it. But yeah, at one point Minecraft was meant to be a game that was scary without blood. That was Notch's idea behind the Pigman, and I feel like if there was one thing that Minecraft kind of sucks on in terms of, like, the modern design, not like in a Mojang is lazy sort of way, not, you know, not like one of those kinds of videos, but like, in a way where I think, like, they genuinely dropped the ball with Minecraft's design. It's trying to go into, like, the super child-friendly direction, and not in the slightly surreal, empty, you know, and a little bit eerie direction that I feel like would be more fitting for something like Minecraft. Obviously, I don't expect this game to be like Lucid Blocks, but I want the game to have some of the original elements which made the game so alluring to people. Just being this one guy in a giant world, it's eerie, especially with the old world gen. Specifically, like, if you've tried to play some of the earliest alpha, like, not alpha, sorry, some of the earliest InfDev builds, like the first few, man, that's actually kind of eerie. One of the, I forget which one it was. It was one of the first ones that had a proper survival mode, right? That I just played around with for a little bit to see how it felt. It was so creepy because it still used, like, the 2D Perlin noise from InDev, but it was kind of like just 2D, and like it was basically all just grassland without any real water, maybe a bit of sand here and there, but it was just like this endless wide plain, not wide, sorry, this endlessly wide rolling hill sort of plain with a very small amount of trees and just endless fog. And, like, that was kind of it to the world. That's all there was. It felt really creepy to be in, even if there was literally not even mobs could spawn, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm pretty sure the mob slider didn't even fucking do anything because that feature wasn't even re-added at that point. But, like, it goes to show how, like, Minecraft's atmosphere used to sort of thrive on this idea of things just kind of being empty, and the fact that they were empty was kind of creepy all, like, in on itself. We didn't need a dweller that was scary and that would bite your ass off. We didn't need some kind of weird, you know, monster in the depths that would scare you. All we really needed back then was, like, a story of something that honestly doesn't feel like it's that off from, you know, what exists. Because imagine Herobrine with the way he was back then. He was from a time when Minecraft was buggier and more unknown. From a time when people, like, didn't fucking know what the... Like, people were like, whoa, what is this nether thing? There's an entire hell dimension. And there were things added in Secret Saturday updates that nobody knew about. Well, who knows? Maybe it's a Secret Friday update, sorry. What if, like, there was another creepy thing added which nobody knew about? And it's like, that's so cool. But these days, it's not cool. There's none of that. It's just kind of whatever. You know, it's like, yeah, well, there's Mr. Heroin Brine, but he's just obviously fake to the point where the developers themselves, you know, put him into stuff as a joke. But it's like, there's just kind of nothing, you know? No interesting myths, no interesting anything really, it's just a whole lot of nothing. It's, like, everything you kind of see is all there is, you know? There's no real room to imagine what horrors may lay beyond, you know, the veil or whatever. Because the veil is all, like, because there is no veil, you know? Did that? Huh. Oh, it does actually... Oh, that's interesting. It is what it is, you know? And now to see crafting... What kind of slab is there? Is there... Hold on, I'm gonna... I don't want to waste any of these, so... If I do this... I didn't want to waste, because I wanted... Actually, wait a minute, how do these look while I'm already here? Like this? Fuck it, I'm using those. Huh? What did I just do? Oh, I can change my flight speed? Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm sorry. I try not to use creative mode for obvious reasons, but if I'm unsure if, like, an item is even craftable, I'm gonna use it just so I can, you know, do this. Now I have to go all the way back. Maybe the solution to this is to use, like, ladders like a normal person. But it's not my fault that, this is such a clean and quick way to do it. It's not faster, it's actually quite a bit slower, and I can die here just by going up, because it's water. It's actually kind of worse in every way, except for the fact that I don't really need any sticks. But hey, it's free! Now that I'm up here, I'm gonna re-add the torches. Now time to fill this in. Yay! But yeah, it's one of those things, right? As big of a fan as I am of, like, Minecraft as a game, I can't say I'm a very big fan of how the game is treated by its very own, like, company. And that's basically not me even complaining about Mojang, it's me complaining about Microsoft. Because I'm sure that a lot of the developers at Mojang would want to add new and cool stuff to the game. They're just kind of in a situation where they have to, like, ensure that everybody will like it. They have to do, like, it's kind of like the focus testing stuff. Like, do you think anyone was focus tested for Resident Evil? Do you think who was the only focus testing group for, like, Mario 64 were the kids of the developers who were making the games? I feel like the general concept of focus testing is kind of like something that's a sort of net negative for a lot of creative, like, you know, everythings. Because it essentially relies on the idea that in order to make a good product, you can't... Shit. Oh, that could have been bad. You can't just ensure that people will like it. You have to also ensure that, like, we need to test this product on people, and then we'll see, like, if it works or not, you know? The only way we can do that is to, you know, just continuously get people's reactions to the thing we already made, and only then will we be able to know if what we've actually made is good or not, instead of just working on something you love. And it's the corporatization of, like, the video game industry, where it was always corporate, but ah, shit. Yep. Like, it was always corporate, don't get me wrong. It's not like, oh yeah, this all started in insert year where you think Doomsday happened. It's not like that. But I feel like there is something to be said about how the video game industry before, at least, felt more like it respected the people making the games. But these days, instead, it's just like, there's no point in hiring game devs anymore, you know? People always talk about, oh, Unreal Engine 5 this, Unreal Engine 5 that. None of them actually know the full story. Do you know why the games come out buggy and broken? It's not because, oh, the developers are lazy. It's because none of the developers are allowed to have enough experience for the games they make to come out good. The developers are there, they're fucking slaving away at a game only to get fired after 3 years. They're contractors. Because big development companies have realized, I mean, with the most recent example, Expedition 33, if you have talented developers working for you, that's not a boon. That's a liability. What happens if the developers aren't happy? They're gonna leave. They're gonna form their own company. And now you're gonna have competition. So the solution is to ensure there is no competition, even if it means making everything you make worse. Because other companies also know that, other big companies, that, oh, we also have to do the same thing, you know? And it's a sort of, consolidation, monopolization, whatever. At the end of the day, the rate of profit for big corporations continues to fall as they try to scrounge up more and more of the market, and it's eventually just gonna have to implode in some ways. I feel like if there's gonna be another sort of video game crash, it's gonna happen at some point relatively soon. Because it's kind of like how a lot of the sort of crashes in the entertainment industry are reliant on real-life events. Like, I can't think of any good examples right now, but you know what I mean. One of the first things that'll go if people don't have enough money to eat is entertainment. And the end point of that will be, well, people will buy less video games. And yeah, maybe the industry would have had infinite growth if the economy kept churning, except there's no such thing as infinite growth. Eventually, you run out of money. Eventually, you have all the money in the world, and you begin to stagnate. I feel like a part of the issue is that, everything is gambling now. Like, stock markets are just things people bet on and, like, do insider trading shit on. Like, you're not allowed to just invest anymore. Back in the day, somebody would be like, oh, hell yeah, this company is, this company's on a tear. I'm gonna invest into some stocks and, have the value of these stocks increase. I'm gonna get my sweet dividends, and then when I'm satisfied, I'm gonna sell them. But that's not how it works anymore. Now it's like, okay, well, this company's stock value is going up. I have to buy this. I have to buy that. I have set up 17 trading AI bots that all work with each other. I feel like, honestly, the trading bots are the most insane thing, because if you've been paying attention, you may have noticed that, like, a lot of the time, like, the market doesn't coincide with the actual economy in any way, you know? Like, the economy is about to implode in the US or whatever, right? Like, job losses quarter after quarter, people aren't buying things, spending is down, prices are exploding in, like, a bunch of sectors. But the economy, the GDP, the S&P 500, it's all going up. Why? Well, because people have designed... That's my conspiracy theory, personally. People have designed bots... Well, I mean, this isn't a theory. This is what's happened, you know? People have designed bots to trade, and the bots have been programmed to trade as if the economy was gonna go up. And because of that, and because there are so many bots, the economy keeps going up, visually. This is what happens when the quote-unquote economy is no longer about what people are, what people are actually buying or selling, but what, like, the theoretical, hypothetical future valuation of something is, because that's basically what's being traded. When you see the valuation of a company like Tesla, it's not actually how much the company is worth, not how much the factories they have are worth, how much the vehicles they made are worth, how much, assets they own are worth. No, it's how much people are betting on the company doing well. Now, if you're wondering why this has happened, we have to go back to, like, the 1910s, the 1920s, somewhere. You know Henry Ford, the guy who influenced a lot of really evil people? Well, at one point in time, he decided to try to destroy all competition by paying his workers an extremely competitive wage. However, because he decided to pay his workers a extremely competitive wage, what happened was he was sued by his shareholders. The shareholders decided that it's unfair for him to pay the workers a higher wage. Keep in mind, he was still, running an extremely profitable company. But they said, you can't pay your workers an extremely, good livable wage because your duty is to us, the shareholders. And that means that you aren't allowed to treat your workers well, regardless of how nefarious your actual reasons for treating them well are. You aren't allowed to treat them well. You have to treat us well. And then you know what happened? They won in court. And because the US has common law, which the difference for... The simplest difference, the one that even I understand, is in common law, precedents actually matter. Like, if something happens, like with the Henry Ford case, what's gonna happen is, basically every single future time that, people, that a lawyer looks at a specific case, they are going to have to look back at all previous cases where the same thing was already judged, and then make their judgment based off of those previous cases. This is as opposed to the French Civil War, which doesn't work on precedents, which means that every single case has to be judged as its own thing. I prefer the French system because it basically ensures that no matter what happens, the judge has to look at every single case like its own new thing. And basically what that ensures is it ensures that every single case is going to be, looked at under its own case. I feel like it does a better job protecting people from bad judgments because it ensures that basically everything will have, everything will be looked at sort of equally, right? And another thing which I think it's kind of good at is ensuring that no matter what happens, basically, it ensures that precedents aren't a replacement for actual, things being enshrined into law. So what that means is that if you could imagine a situation where there's like an extremely important like civil rights case in America, for instance, right? Where, okay, they won. And now the precedent means that all the other judges are going to judge something a specific way. And then in the future, because it's not enshrined into law, the courts will just overrule it again. And uh-oh, abortion is no longer a right in America. Because they never enshrined it into law. Because they thought nobody would be evil enough to make it illegal. And would you look what happened? Meanwhile, in a place where, you know, you have this sort of law, where everything is judged on its own again, if that kind of thing would be decided upon, then there would be an extremely strong argument for it to be enshrined into law. And that would mean that changing that would, you know, require you to go through a lot more effort, which would make it harder for a regime to basically destroy civil society. But it is what it is, and there's only so much you can really do. And in my case, I'm happy I'm not over there, and that I'm over here. Because honestly, seeing just everything that happens over there makes me really concerned. It'd be partially because it still does kind of affect things over here. Yeah. Kind of scary, honestly. But yeah. TLDR, I think you should probably... Hot take, I think you should probably ensure important things are actually in law. And not just, basically gentlemen's agreements. That will definitely not be destroyed. But basically, I went a little bit off topic. But yeah, because that case was won by the shareholders, now every single American company has to listen to the shareholders, even if it means the company will explode. And because of that, CEOs are in an uncomfortable and, I would say, unenviable situation, but fuck you make a lot of money. It's definitely enviable. Where basically they have to steer the ship, but they don't actually control the ship. They have to steer it, but only as the shareholders demand. And if they disagree with the shareholders, what happens? Well, you're tossed overboard. It doesn't matter that what the shareholders want is going to sink the entire company, like what happened with Unity, because if you tell them no, and keep in mind, shareholders do not understand the concept of being told no to something, what's gonna happen is they're just going to fire you, and they're going to hire some other guy who is then going to, you know, tell them, yes, your idea is great, and then the company dies. So, from the perspective of a CEO, it's either like, okay, either I pass these dog shit ideas and sink the company, or somebody else does it. And at that point, you know, fuck it. You may as well be the guy who does it. At least you're gonna get more money out of it, and not some other bastard who may genuinely think it's a good idea. And surely, well, you're also like a CEO, surely you, because you understand that it's a stupid idea, deserve this position more than the other guy who would pass it because he thinks it's genuinely a good idea, rather than just passing it because, oh, well, I either do this or I'm fired. Obviously, I'm not only narrativizing, but also heavily implying that, like, through some level of, through the tone of my voice, that I obviously disagree with, oh yeah, I'm so better than this guy, but at some level I understand it, even if I definitely disagree with it. Like, at some point, it must suck knowing that, you have to listen to such idiots, but I don't know, man. You are, like, running a giant conglomerate company. It's not like, you know, you're just a poor CEO or whatever. But yeah. Really, it's just a shame that never, ever, ever, ever will any of the CEOs ever, like, get to... Not CEOs, but never, ever, ever will any of the shareholders actually, like, there's no... I don't think there's even a system for a company to sue its shareholders over forcing them to make a bad decision. I don't think there's, like, a legal process for you to even do that. Would such a thing, if it did happen, completely wreck how the system works? Yes. Would every single shareholder in the country pay exorbitant amounts of money to the lawyers? Lobby the lawyer, in order to ensure that doesn't pass? Yes. Do I think it's a good idea for a law like that to absolutely shred the economy if it means that the shareholders are gonna be put on a leash? Yes. I think it's a great idea, because generally speaking, the less power the shareholders have, it seems the better existence is for you, the average person, and for me, the average person. I'm not some hyper-rich hyper man. I have a B580, because my old GPU started to shit itself, and I wanted something cheap and something new. It's not like, you know... I feel like it kind of gets a little bit, you know, lost in the sauce TM when I see, like, Oh, I forgot to dig this part out. When a lot of, like, extremely wealthy people online talk about how, like, well, maybe not extremely wealthy, but when a lot of people who are, like, still quite well off talk about, like, oh yeah, this and that, not because I feel like, oh, you have to be poor to, or whatever, like, oh yeah, you have to be from, like, a, Eastern Bloc country, or you have to be from, like, Vietnam to talk about this stuff. No, that's stupid. But I do think there's a little bit lost when, like, you see suburban white kids talking about, like, things that they maybe don't know as much about as they think they do. But it is what it is. Maybe the issue is that, whitest kids you know ended way too soon, you know? God, imagine a whitest kids you know thing on, like, Twitter. That would be a really funny bit. Just, like, seeing... I don't know. In my mind, it's kind of hard to describe the bit unless you've, like, been on that specific part of Twitter where people call each other unserious because of, like, really dumb shit. And that's, in some circles, one of the biggest insults you can make to someone, right? You can call them all kinds of things, but if you call them unserious, that's, like... That crosses a line. Anyways, yeah, a funny story, about the whole shareholder stuff. Yeah, that's the way everything sucks now. I'm sorry. It's always big companies. I know some people love to talk about other stupid shit, but it's not women. It's not minorities. It's shareholders. And maybe one of the shareholders is a woman, or maybe one of the shareholders is a minority, but, like, I think it's pretty obvious. It's just fucking rich dickheads who are, like, completely divorced from reality. Because keep in mind, this is what I feel like is often misunderstood. There are a lot of people in the world who are just evil and who just want to see you suffer. Like, the kinds of people who... I know, like, Ceausescu's wife, I think, is a really good example, where it was, like, they wanted to build a subway station that went through, like, basically a subway line through Bucharest. But they wanted to build a subway station next to the university, and his wife was like, no, I don't want a station there, they can walk, because I don't want them to get fat. Which is just like, oh yeah, I want the students to suffer more, basically, you know? And this is a sort of common mindset, which you can tend to see with, like, a lot of old people these days. It's the lead, I believe, like lead pipes, lead petrol, that sort of stuff. But yeah, basically there are a lot of old people who just want you to suffer and who don't want anything nice to happen. However, I feel like equally to those kinds, a lot of shareholders are just like stunted because when you are really rich, you are kind of divorced from what actually happens in material reality, you know? You don't know anything really because you have like people who will just tell you exactly what you need to know. You have way too much money for anybody to say no to you. So what tends to happen with a lot of shareholders, I think, is they just have so much money nobody ever tells them no, and it's like the sort of Mad King thing where if everybody always tells you that you're the greatest and the most intelligent and such, you're just gonna believe them eventually. It doesn't matter if you may know at first that, like, oh yeah, they're just telling me that, you know, to flatter me. Eventually, you will, like, succumb to the, like, rich virus, and you will become a bumbling buffoon who makes really stupid decisions that nobody understands. Like that one guy who wanted, like, to... Like, there are situations where, like, shareholders have asked ridiculous things from game developers. Like, oh yeah, can you... There was something along the lines of, can you make it so, like, people have to pay to jump in Mario? Not exactly that line, I think. But it was something close to it, if I remember correctly. And obviously, the reaction to hearing something like this would be... Whoever that guy is, I know you can't fire him from the company, but fire him somehow. I don't care how. Because that's clearly, like, not something you would ever want. That would be, you know... That would nuke the company. And I feel like there should be some kind of, at the very least, some kind of system that ensures shareholders can't ruin a company. Because while they do still own the company, there should still be, like, you know, ways to fucking eject them out of there. But then the question is, okay, what if other shareholders will not... Like, what if the shareholders have to vote? And so what if one guy just, you know, it's a question of, okay, but is the corporation its own thing? Or is the corporation just a thing that is owned? And you run into a lot of questions that are really difficult to answer. Because oftentimes, one side, usually the wrong side, has ungodly amounts of money and will do whatever they can to ensure that bad things happen, while the other side has no money and, and will, you know, suffer because of it. And basically, sorry, that's the situation we're in. Oh yeah, that's trippy. But yeah, a lot of it is kind of rambling. But it is what it is, you know? There's only so much you can really do. And I don't know what you would even do. Anyways, yeah. I'll see you next time in Better Than Adventure when we continue. Probably I'll get some dirt or whatever, and wood, and some more water. And we'll design, like, the 2 mini environments up there. And I'll see you when that's gonna start. I don't know. I do really like how this just looks kind of weird and imposing. I'll see you next time, though. Oh yeah, by the way, we gotta have some other way of reaching the structure on top. I don't know what I'm gonna build. I want to make all these builds kind of connect with some kind of trusses together, because I'm gonna have... I don't know if I showed this, but I have another chest of granite for stuff if I may need it. I'll see. Anyways, yeah. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.